First induction took place in 1968 in the Carter Gym, halftime of a basketball game. Then there was a 6-year hiatus, and we went to a format where we had the Hall of Fame as part of the Whatcom County Sports Personality of the Year banquet. And after a number of years of doing that, then when Linda Goodrich became athletic director, what she did was that she very much wanted to get the Hall of Fame induction on campus. And so she did that, and for many years we were at the Viking Union. Today we honor the class of 2013, Lori deKubber, Brandi Stevenson, Scot Swanson, and Rudy Thomas. That brings the Hall's total to 125, and when you consider that Western's history spans roughly 110 years, these people are certainly the best of the best. Linda Goodrich, Director of Athletics.
On behalf of Western and Western Athletics, I want to welcome you tonight to our Hall of Fame induction. And it really is a special occasion when you, and I think Paul hit on it, 110 years of Western have 125 athletes, coaches inducted. That's a very select class. And I must say that it's always an honor to be with the best of the best. And it certainly is that again tonight with these 4 new inductees who I all know personally and have watched play, and it's been a great experience for myself. And I must say that as the outgoing athletic director, I couldn't be more pleased to be able to have my last Hall of Fame with these new 4 inductees. So thank you so much, and you honored us and you continue to honor us, and we welcome you to our Hall of Fame. Thank you.
You know, the 2012-13 school year has been an incredible one for Western Athletics. Linda is certainly going out on top. Both the men's and women's basketball teams won league and regional titles and advanced to the national semifinals. They had a combined record of 60 wins and 7 losses. The women's soccer team finished 19-4 and reached the Far West Regional Final. The volleyball team had a 24-4 record and got to the regional semifinals. The men's golf team placed second at the South Central West Regional and is competing at nationals beginning Monday. And the women's rowing team earned yet another berth at nationals. That's going to be announced on Monday, so you're privy to that one, which take place at the end of May as the West Region representative. In all, the Vikings have won a total of 8 Great Northwest Athletic Conference championships, a conference record, and had a combined point total of 206 this year in the conference standings, the first team ever, or first school ever to go over 200. Quite a list of accomplishments. Okay, now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. This evening we induct 4 former student athletes into the Western Athletics Hall of Fame, 2 of whom went on to coach for the Vikings. They are Lori deKubber, who played and coached women's basketball, Brandi Stevenson, who competed and coached track and field for the Vikings, men's soccer standout Scot Swanson, and men's basketball standout Rudy Thomas. Our first inductee this evening is Lori deKubber. A 3-time NAIA District 1 All-Star, Lori ranks 2nd among school leaders in points, 1,408, and 4th in assists, 345, during her 4-year career, which spanned 1981 to 85. Lori led the Vikings in scoring 3 times, playing on teams that had a combined record of 88 wins and just 29 losses. Lori then served as an assistant to Carmen Dolfo for 8 seasons. Western finished 26-7 and reached the NAIA National quarterfinals in 1995-96, and the Vikings again went to the national tournament in 1997-98. Since leaving coaching, Lori has continued working at Western, I think other than 4 years? See, but we'll forgive you for that. That's no problem. Providing injury rehabilitation services for students and being an adjunct faculty member in the Department of Physical Education, Health and Recreation. Recently, Lori, a graduate of Snohomish High School, moved to the campus recreation, where she serves as a clinical athletics trainer. Her father, Jack, played basketball at Western and was an outstanding coach for many years at Snohomish High School. And as I found out, he's very good at keeping a secret. Nice job, Jack. Lori obtained both her bachelor's and master's degrees at Western, and she has a 13-year-old daughter, Quinn. Now, I'm going to digress just a little bit here. We have a picture. This is vintage. Before we had all the digital and technology for doing posters, we used to just try to get different things up at Carver Gym and have a photographer take the photo. And so Bonnie and Clyde were kind of a big thing back then. So what we did was we had John DeFranco, our guard on the men's basketball team, and Lori deKubber. That's Lori right there. Dress up, and we got our performing arts people to get them squared away. We had a couple that was down in Southwest Washington that brought their car up. And it was, I don't remember the make of the car, but I know that the model was Viking, and you can actually see the V's on the tires there. And so what we didn't realize at the time was how wide the car was, and also the fact that you just have a double door to get into Carver Gym. So the couple, the older couple they were a little nervous, as they should have been, as we tried to get the car into the gym for the picture shoot. But we did do it, and we got it there. So, Lori, this is going to be yours as well. I was going to give it to somebody, like a member of your family, that they could use against you anytime that they had something that they needed to have. But that's yours. That's going to be yours too. Okay, so Lori's presenters, and they can start coming forward now, are Linda Goodrich and Carmen Dolfo, who between them in 41 seasons of coaching women's basketball at Western have, think about this, I'm going to have them on each side of me, 886 victories, 39 postseason appearances, and 30 20-win seasons. Carmen and Linda.
Good job, Carmen. Well, I get to go first, and Lori played for me when I was coaching at Western, and I try to remember back as Lori as a player, and we were just talking before, and she obviously was a great offensive player. She was a guard, could shoot the heck out of the ball, and we didn't have the three-point shot then. And had we had it, and she could have taken a step back, she probably would lead all scorers forever because she was a terrific outside shooter. And I think the thing that when Carmen and I were talking about, the thing that I remember the most too is we loved to run, and she really hit those lanes on the fast break. She was the ultimate player that you want to coach. She was tenacious, she was focused, she was a team player. She didn't give any grief, but she was like the coach on the floor, and probably for good reason since her dad was a coach. And I digress a little bit, but he is always trying to tell me how to coach. That's for another day. I actually would ask his advice, and that was a mistake because then I got a lot of it. But Lori was just a dream to coach. She was the ultimate player that every coach wants on their team, plus she could play. But the thing that I remember too was that Lori was one of those players that she never started anything, but she would finish it. And if it got started, she would finish it. And we played Gonzaga a lot in rival games. Yeah, I'm going to tell a story now, Lori. And we were playing over at Gonzaga, and their baseball team would come to root on their team and to give us hell. And they did. They harassed the heck out of our players, heckled them. And during the course of the game, we have an out of bounds that's taken out over in front of the baseball team. Lori's taking the ball out of bounds, and as she's standing there, one of the guys reaches his hand up her shorts. She puts the ball on one side, knocks his hand off. The official goes, technical foul, and I'm like, yeah, and goes, on Lori. So I politely asked the official, and calmly, what kind of call was that? And he goes, well, I have to protect the fans. And I'm like, well, did you ever think of protecting the players? But Lori got the last word in. I think that guy's hand, he was smarting a little bit from her whack back. And but I can remember a few instances like that, whenever we had to have an enforcer, if it happened, she would make sure it did. But Lori, in all, was just the great team player. She could score, but she was a great team player. And I think it's now time to turn it over. That was my 2.5 minutes that Paul gave me. So now, Carmen, you're on.
Well, I get to talk about Lori as the coach. And Lori and I were the crazy two who actually were challenged to take and follow in Linda Goodrich's The Legend's footsteps. So I don't know what we were thinking, Lori, but we started out together, and not only I felt we're a great coaching team, but just a great friendship was formed. And I just, I have so much respect for Lori. She's funny, she's fun, she appears quiet. But she's the one in the back of the room popping off all the time. I'm sure her family can attest for that. But I think if I could look at the 3 best qualities of her as a coach, number 1, I'd say she was a great teacher. She just really had a great way of explaining things and making players understand what they needed to do. It was clear, and they had so much respect for her. The second thing I thought she was great at, and maybe she got this from Linda because Linda was good and her father, but really good at game adjustments. And I know she helped me a lot as a young coach of just really her ideas and the different things that she would think of. I remember when she decided to leave, I thought, oh my gosh, I have to do this by myself now. And did such a great job. And I think the third area is Lori's master's is in sports psychology. And she really dealt a lot with the mental side of the game and really help players focus and help players kind of think through things, and a lot of imagery, and I think I learned a lot from her in that area too. And Lori was also an athletic trainer. And so she was, when she worked with me, she was half-time in the athletic training room and half-time as a coach. And an amazing athletic trainer. And I think the athletes loved her, they kind of flocked to her, and she was very confident in getting them out and giving them the ability to have the confidence to get out there when they were injured, and they just trusted her, and I loved her because she was no nonsense. You're not hurt, get out there. And coaches like that. If I could think of one game that was just probably was one of my favorites still is we had gone to the NAI National Tournament, and it was about, I don't know, we didn't get on the court till maybe 9:30, which ended up being 12:30 at our time. And the game was crazy. And we ended up, everybody was fouling out. And all our posts were fouling out. And we actually ended up, we had 6 players left in the game, and it ended up going to triple overtime. And we had no posts left. And I remember looking at Lori saying, what are we going to do if one more person falls out? And Lori, who likes to pop off, was like, well, look down at the end of the bench, and we had our freshman biting her nails, like heaved over like she was going to throw up. She's like, we're done if someone else falls out. But anyway, we ended up winning in triple overtime in the first round, and we all were bawling. I mean, the parents were crying. It was so late and it was so long. And I think probably the only dryad was Lori because she's so strong. She's like, we've got it, we're moving on. But I just think that it amplified a lot of her as she kept it light, she was focused, she had great ideas, and I just love the years that we worked together. I do want to read two things from some past players and what they wrote about her. And one was Gina Sampson, who was an All-American and actually was fouled out early in that game. Way too early. I know, really. Lori was an amazing coach and a mentor for me as a young player. She taught me the mental part of the game, always focused on goal setting and being tuned in with myself. She knew what it took to win and gave 100% at all times. This attitude carried over to our team and enabled us to be successful. When I became Carmen's assistant coach after Lori resigned, she guided me every step of the way behind closed doors. She was always there for me. I never forgot that. I cherish the memories I have with Lori coaching me and mentoring me, and as well as the friendship we developed. She is an amazing woman with a kind heart. Sarah Nichols, who is in the back of the room here. So, Lori was the no-nonsense type of coach. Let's be perfectly clear. She is a no-nonsense type of person. She always told me exactly what she thought, and when she couldn't bring herself to verbally articulate what she was thinking, she used her facial expressions. I don't know what those were, Sarah. She never made me feel like you had to do anything to please her. She wanted you to do it for yourself. But when she made up her mind and made a change for you, her smile, her head nod, and quiet encouragement made you feel like you had just accomplished something of true worth. Lori never played mind games with us. However, she would constantly help us to try and stop playing them with ourselves. She was always there to point out what we could do and not what we couldn't, and helped us grasp what could happen if we focused on only the things we could control. Lori was and is a true role model in being respectful to yourself and true to yourself. Not changing for anyone but yourself, and not giving a crap about what others think about you. Sarah. Because in the end, in the words of Lori, if you know in your heart you have done the right thing, nothing else matters. Just to kind of end it, Lori's a rehab therapist now in the recreation department with Marie, and we miss her so much, but she's an amazing mother to her daughter Quinn. She's a great friend, and Laura, I'm just proud to have been able to work with you, and I actually did play with her for 1 year and just really cherish our friendship, so thanks.
Lori deKubber.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a little shorter, Carmen. Amazing words from two people I respect with just amazing. I appreciate it so much. I pulled this out of just want you to know, this is where a coach keeps their practice thing right there. But anyway, thank you very much for your words. I appreciate that so much. I just want to share something that happened to me on the way into the building today. I was walking up the stairs, and I was hustling up, like I usually do, and I hear these words, "Hey, Coach deKubber." And I look behind me, and it's a player that I coached at Shoreline Community College, and this player is the daughter of Rudy Thomas. Vice Tidwell, right here. So great, and that's what coaching is about. You get to have those moments like that. It was so wonderful. But anyway, when Paul first informed me that I was being inducted into the Hall of Fame, I really did think he was joking for about 0.5 seconds, because I realized very quickly that Paul does not joke and stuff like this. He's all business when it comes to stats and awards, and the guy is really amazing at what he does. But that conversation really kind of triggered a lot of thoughts and memories about a time that was really important in my life, Western athletics and Western basketball. And sometimes we get away from that as we go on through life, and it was, through the course of the last few weeks, it's been really great to start to remember some of those things again, and those great moments and those great people that were a very, very important part of my life. And Linda and Carmen are very much two of those people. But the thought that kind of kept returning to me was how Western really provided me with these amazing opportunities. And I'm so thankful for those opportunities. I'd like to speak to that a little bit. First of all, Linda gave me the opportunity to play at Western. And I tried out when I was coming from a high school program that really probably wasn't very good. Okay, we weren't very good. And I was coming off an ankle reconstruction surgery, so I just could not have been at the top of my game in any way, shape, or form. But somehow Linda saw something in me, and she allowed me to be a part of the team. And I think it did probably help. There was only about 3 returning players from the previous season. A little bit. It was the end of the Joe Metzger era. But she allowed me to play, so that's the first thing. And that freshman year was really a memorable year. Probably the most memorable for me because I was just so excited to be on the team. I couldn't believe all the great things that came along with being a part of Western basketball. For example, when we bought a pair of shoes, the school paid for our second pair of shoes. And I thought that was the greatest thing ever. And we had all of our food and lodging paid for. We went on a road trip, so I couldn't believe it. It was amazing. And that year we had a trip down to Southern California, and I didn't even realize that we were taking the Motel 6 tour of the West Coast, and that there were actually nicer hotels than the Motel 6. I really thought that was the greatest thing. But I was so proud to be a member of the basketball team, and I really thought Linda was a basketball goddess, and she is. And I would have done anything that she said to the best of my ability. And it was just a great fit for me. I was so fortunate to find a great fit. But I have to admit one thing, Linda. When you were, Linda's voice does not carry very well in a crowded gymnasium. And when she was yelling direction from the sideline, I often didn't hear her, but I would nod like I understood it. And I'd go out and kind of do what I thought I needed to do. And I knew that. She's so smart. My next opportunity came when a former teammate of mine, Susie Miller, who was a starting guard that freshman year, decided during winter break that she was going to go on a trip to Hawaii over winter break when the rest of the team was at home practicing for these games that we had coming up. And so needless to say, Susie was asked to take a seat on the bench, and I was given the opportunity to start after that. And I don't know if that was supposed to be a long-term thing or not, but I think I scored 20 and then 24 points in the first 2 games I started, so maybe that's what sealed the deal, I don't know. I was able to continue that. And Gonzaga, I'm glad you mentioned Gonzaga, because a lot of people do not remember that we ever played Gonzaga. And they were definitely our rival. They were a thorn in our side, and it was just a battle every time we played them. We usually split home and away games with them and then met them in the playoffs somewhere and just battled it out. But it was truly a nightmare to play in their gym. And to this day, I do not like Gonzaga. I have 0% because of the incident at Gonzaga. And it's really hard around here because a lot of people do like Gonzaga being a state school and everything, but they have no tolerance. And so when I'm filling out the NCAA brackets every year for March Madness, and Gonzaga is usually in the tournament, first round I automatically have them losing. I don't care how they're ranked, they're out. And it worked out pretty well for me this year. Next opportunity came when Carmen invited me to coach, which again I'm so thankful for, because I did have to go to Seattle for 4 years and kind of develop a career. Started coaching at Shoreline Community College, and I knew that I wanted to be back at Western, so I was so thankful for that opportunity. And it was challenging for us, and I think there was one year that we were I shouldn't say this probably, we were 1 game below 500, and I think that was the only year of the program history. However, 2 years later, that was the team. And that's what Western basketball is about, developing players, building teams, and a winning tradition, and I'm so proud to be part of that. I had the opportunity to coach many great players and great women, 2 of whom were inducted into this Hall of Fame, Celeste Hill and Gina Sampson, as was mentioned earlier. And I was able to attend Gina's induction, a couple of years ago, and speaking on her behalf was another player, Addie Johnson. And I'll tell you, when those two young women got up and spoke, I was in awe. I was in awe of who they were. They were confident, they were successful, they were poised, and I was so proud of them. And I wasn't even their mother. I mean, I really was. And I could tell you, those two did not come to Western that way. But they left well on their way. And that's what Western basketball is about, too. Carmen, I just have to say that I'm really in awe of your longevity. You know, I didn't think anybody would ever come close to Linda, but you've done it and you're still going. And I hope you continue to keep going, because I cannot imagine this program in anybody else's hands. So, amen to you. I've had other folks on campus that have also provided a lot of opportunities for me. Most recently, Marie Sathers really given me an opportunity to expand some of these ideas that have been going on in my head for many years. But I'm so thankful for that, because I really do appreciate being able to stay at Western. It feels like home to me. It's where I really, really want to be and really thrive, and I appreciate that so much. Thank yous. I would like to thank my family. Appreciate your support. My parents, Peg and Jack deKubber. Thank you for being proud of what I've done. My sisters, Lisa, Terry, and Wendy, and their spouses. But you know, I have to remember one time that when I was turning 30, we were playing a game down at UPS in Tacoma, and they came down and they dressed up in birthday garb and 30 this and all this paraphernalia, decorated our bus and did this whole big extravaganza, but unfortunately we lost the game. And it was, I think, the only time I ever remember losing to UPS, so it was not really celebratory, but I do appreciate the thought. Thank you to Sarah for her support. I have to say one thing about Sarah, that Sarah did come and watch me play when I was in college, but she doesn't remember it. And to my daughter Quinn, who provides me with more challenges than athletics ever did. And I would like to just lastly mention a couple of people that were very special to me, who provided me with unconditional support for who I was and who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. They came to every home game when I was both playing and coaching. And they came, one year they came to every game, including games down into Southern California and Eastern Washington in the middle of winter. And these folks were pushing their 80s, and this is my grandparents, Les and Adria Knudsen. They were very special to me. And also at their side many times was my Aunt Kay Johnson. Thank you very much.
Okay, our second inductee is Brandi Stevenson, a three-time NEIA All-American. Brandi placed fourth at the NEIA Outdoor Nationals in the heptathlon in 1996, fifth in the 400 hurdles in 1994, and seventh as a member of the 4x100 relay in 1996. In all, she set 5 school records, 4 outdoor and 1 indoor. Brandi also was a NEIA Scholar Athlete 3 times, being named to the Dean's List at Western 9 times. Brandi then served 14 years as an assistant coach for the Vikings, coaching 23 All-Americans. Brandi has gone on to work at BP and also is an adjunct faculty member at Western. She is a doctoral candidate at the University of Glasgow in Scotland in the Doctorate in Education program. A graduate of Seaholm High School, Brandi has 4 children, Jack 14, Mary 12, Troy, I forgot his age. 8, and Sullivan 5. Thank you. Brandi's presenter is Viking track and field and cross country coach Pee Wee Hassel. In his 26 years at Western, Pee Wee has earned 27 Coach of the Year honors, mentored 120 All-Americans, and 8 national champions. And his teams have won 18 league and or district titles. Pee-wee.
Maybe you can hear me. You might need a box. Probably can't see me. Anyway, Brandi Stevenson. 20 years. She's been, part of my life. And it's amazing to have her to be a part of my life. And all those honors that Paul said about me, if I didn't have assistant coaches like Brandi and athletes like Brandi, there would be nothing to say. So I thank Brandi for that. I thank her for those 20 years and her family for letting me have her for 20 years. But anyway, as we go on and as I've been thinking about this, and I am starting to get old, in my mind, it bringing back all the old memories. It's amazing. And I'm going to, first of all, I want to thank Dominic, who was a family friend, who called me when she first was going to come to Western. She was going to transfer from WSU. And so he called me and gave me the heads up. I started all the calls and got that work going, offered her some little aid that we have, and she came. She was going to come anyway. She just told me that the other day, so I could have gotten it from that. No, but so I think of that, and I think of the first time we met in my office, which is a story in itself. But I think of Brandi and that meeting. Okay, now she comes in to my office after I've offered her a scholarship on crutches. Okay? She had to come in to talk to me about her skiing trip with her family over that Christmas break. Anyway, so she comes in. Now, I had just gone down and got a burger and fries for lunch, sitting in my office. And so we're sitting there talking. I don't remember being upset at her. I can only think of one time I've ever been upset at Brandi. Okay? And that's when she cleaned my desk. Okay? So I'll never forgive her. I lost a lot of things that day. Anyway, and if you've ever seen my desk, you'd understand that. So to continue the story, we're talking just about Western, and I offered her some French fries because I had food right there. I said, "Here, you want some French fries?" And she said, "No, thank you," because she thought I was testing her. Okay? Because no track coach is going to let their athletes eat French fries, right? And there are some out there, especially. Well, anyway, she can fill you in on that. But so she didn't. I must have passed the test because she stayed with me for 20 years and helped me, and I appreciate that so much. But through all that time, and I can't say enough. I mean, there's no way I can say what she means because there's not words to explain it. But when I first got that call from Dominic, and I knew what she had done at Seaholm, and just you love the opportunity to get an athlete like that. But I had no idea what she would end up meaning to my track and field program, and beyond into the athletic program. And it's amazing what she has accomplished and brought to Western athletics and track and field and cross country. Like I say, there's not words, but she's meant a lot. And anyway, she's almost like a younger sister, way younger. I wouldn't say a daughter because I'm not that old, but way younger sister. But that day that she came into the office and became part of Western track and field and athletics is amazing. what she's accomplished and what she's still accomplishing. I mean, to have 4 kids and going to doing her doctoral degree. She's amazing, amazing woman. And I'm very thankful for her. And I think of Brandi, and as a competitor, as a coach. But when I think of Brandi, I think of a fierce competitor. I think of her as a great coach, as a having great fun. She always had fun. You should have seen the office with all the little paper cups filled with water, and that Ben Stensland, one of my assistant coaches, had to clean out. It's fun. She opened the door for the athletes to do that, but she was the instigator, I think. Fun, fun, fun. That's one of the many things that's fun. Beautiful lady, a great mom, work ethic that you wouldn't believe. One of the most intelligent people, the most intelligent person I know. Okay? Very loyal, and there's so many more that I could just sit here and I could spend hours, I think, but I'm not going to. But I present to you Brandi Stevenson.
Gosh, when I went into the office that day on crutches and he offered me French fries, and I thought I passed the test because the previous school did not allow us to eat French fries. When I found out I had actually failed the test and I was supposed to take the fries, I thought, yes, this is where I belong. And just real quick, before I say more, can we give a round of applause to Paul Madison? Make sure we get that in there. And I was going to do this without getting choked up, but then Pee Wee started talking. Now I'm all nervous. And so gosh, this is awesome. When Paul called me those weeks ago and tried to make me cry, I just kept thinking, gosh, this is amazing. And he had said, you have to get up there and talk for 7 minutes. And I got I was like, okay, I can do that. So what am I going to say, And people would say congratulations and, good job, what an honor. And every time somebody said good job to me, you kind of put your head down and say thanks, But there's an element of shyness or humility that comes with it. So I spent some time thinking about that, and I think I figured a couple things out. This honor isn't all mine. And Lori alluded to this too. She said, so, everything that I did and all those stats that Paul read, they're my mom's legs and my dad's height, because there's hurdles in the way. So a long inseam helps, right? And all my parents, tremendous work ethic, and Pee Wee's incredible patience and belief in me and taking me back every time I screwed up, and when we dropped the baton and he let me run again anyway, and Linda's mentorship and the friends I made along the way, and the opportunity, I was coming anyway, but I don't know that I could have finished school without that scholarship, So, there's a lot that goes into all the way down to scheduling the track meets and who feeds us and how we get there. I feel like I'm kind of this intersection of all these great people doing these great things and creating this great opportunity. And I am so grateful that it got to be me that got to do all that. What an amazing experience, You guys all gave me such wonderful moments, and I'll cherish those, When Paul was reading the list of people in this room, to try and count myself as one of you is just, what an honor, It really is. There's so many fantastic moments that I had as an athlete and as a coach. And the best, the very best moments in all of my sports career were definitely as a coach. the best and the worst, actually. But we're going to try and keep this positive. So I would like to, if I may, share my most favorite moment as a coach, and then I'll go sit back down. And I'm going to try and do it without crying, but it's not going to work. So it's a little weird because my best moment as a coach wasn't actually on a track or in the weight room or at practice or anything like that. I was actually sitting in my car, in my driveway. This was 6 or 7 years ago, and it was just after our end of the season banquet that we throw every year after conference is done and we're back from nationals. And we're just kind of celebrating the athletes, and Pee Wee makes burgers and chicken for everybody. So I'm sitting in my car and I read this. So well, let me back up. About a month prior to this, we were, well, I'll back even further up. So there was a young man on the team that year, a freshman. And we'll call him Phil, because that was his name. And I told him I was sharing this. He said, that's fine. So Phil was kind of shy, and I don't know that I ever even heard him talk until he was a sophomore. Kind of in the middle of the pack. Worked like crazy, would do anything we asked him to do, never skipped a workout, never complained, was just eager to run any event we ever put him in. And he actually qualified for conference. He never won a race that year, but he qualified for conference, top 16 go to conference. And it was in Ellensburg that year. Excuse me. It's a 2-day meet. So the prelims are all on Friday and finals are on Saturday. So it's usually 2 races in prelims. So he's ranked, I think, 13th or 14th going in that year. And what I do at the conference meet, because since we're not allowed onto the track or anything, is I take times of all the people running, and then I time each race down to my athletes, and then I add up the top 8 go to finals the next day, and the top 8 get to score. So he's in the 400 hurdles, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm writing down these times, and I count them, and I'm like, whoa, holy smokes. Wait, and I counted him again, and I was like, Phil made it to finals. He's 8th. Phil got into finals. And that was really cool, right? And so it gets over. It's the next morning, and I was driving the van, and most of the athletes are on the bus. So the van is completely loaded up, and they're all waiting to go to the track, and I just felt like I needed to connect with Phil that morning. I don't know why, I just did. So I'm like stalling and waiting. I'm not seeing him. I got up and I went and looked on the bus and I couldn't find him, and I'm just hanging out by the door of the bus, and finally he comes out and he's carrying all his bags, and he's got his track stuff and a pillow, and his arms are full. And I walk up to him, I give him this big hug, and I was like, oh, I'm so proud of you. And it was really awkward because he's like, and I'm like, high five, right? Okay, sorry. So I go back and we go to the track, and fast forward a month. At the track banquet, they always ask us if we want to say a few words, and I never do. Maybe I should have. But they give us this card. So then I'm reading this card, and it says, thanks, Brandi. When you said I'm proud of you at conference, it changed my life. Thank you, Phil. Excuse me, sorry. And I was like, you know what? That's it right there, you know? That's why we do what we do. And you guys all came together and did what you did to change my life. And the coolest thing, the best thing I understand about this is that I had the opportunity to return the favor. And I think that's just really cool. So before I get down, I would like to give a little shout out to my own relay team over there. My lovely children who have been complete inspiration to me. They never liked me going away for the weekends and stuff like that, but they were always so excited to see me when I got home. And I'll put those 4 up in a 4x4 against any sibling team in the United States if I ever get the chance. But honestly, you guys, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. This means a ton. Thank you.
Our third inductee is Scot Swanson. Scott received NAIA All-America Honorable Mention and NAIA National Scholar Athlete recognition as a senior in 1997. He ranked second among school career leaders in goals, 30, and points, 72, when he completed his 4-year career, which went from 1994 to 1997. He is currently third in both those categories. Scott also earned NAIA Pacific Northwest Region All-Area Honors and was Most Valuable Player of the Pacific Northwest Athletic Conference in 1997 as he led the Vikings to a 12-6-1 record, the Pacific Northwest sectional title, and the first round of the regional playoffs with team leading totals of 9 goals and 4 assists. At sectionals, Western defeated Hawaii Pacific and Simon Fraser, both by scores of 1-0. Then, at regionals, they lost to eventual national champion, Seattle University, which featured Scott's brother, Kurt, who was a recent Seattle University Hall of Fame inductee. And Western was coached that year by yet another brother, another Swanson. The Swansons are synonymous, I knew I was going to blow that, with soccer in Whatcom County and Bellingham. Scott's brother, Brad. As a junior in 1996, Scott was a second-team All-Region pick and a unanimous All-League selection, scoring 16 goals and having 5 assists. A graduate of Seaholm High School, Scott earned a bachelor's degree at Western in Business Administration and went on to obtain a Doctor of Jurisprudence degree at the University of Washington. Scott has coached soccer at 4 club programs and has played on a number of semi-pro teams. He coached the Whatcom FC Rangers from 2004 to 2009. Scott and wife Kristen, also a Western graduate, have 2 sons, Drew 3 and Brady 1. Scott's presenter is going to be Brad Swanson, and he is his brother and former coach, I should say, Brad Swanson. Brad, I believe you're a Seattle U graduate, correct? Yep. Was the head coach at Western for 5 seasons and is now an attorney, as is Scott, at the Belcher Swanson Law Firm. I know Brad, I remember Brad as the coach. He's probably one of the most enthusiastic people I've ever had at Western. I heard he got that from his mom. Brad, you're up.
Paul, you and I are apparently about the same height because I don't have to move it much. I like that. I'm glad I didn't go after Dolfo back there because I would have done what Pee Wee did. It was an honor to coach my brother, but I want to start with a funny story. And I got a couple funny stories for you tonight. But one of the funnier ones was that day that we played Seattle U. Scotty was playing in a blue jersey and Kurt was playing in a red jersey. And I, of course, was a former Seattle U player, and all those guys were still dear to my heart, but I was in blue that day, and my poor mom, she was schizophrenic. Didn't know which way it was going, but those two are pretty cool. I'll get to Scott in a second, but I want to talk about you first, Linda. You all know Linda recently retired, and I suspect this is the last time that I'm going to have a forum like this to thank her for what she did for me. She took a chance on a 22-year-old kid when she hired me to coach this men's soccer team. And I hope I did you well, Linda, but you did me a huge favor. It was a great opportunity for me, and had I been able to manufacture a career out of soccer, I would have. But I tell you, those 5 seasons were magical, and I can't thank you enough for that. I got a funny story about Linda. Mark, Ronnie, and Linda were interviewing for the men's soccer position. I had just graduated from Seattle U not more than 2 months before. I was young. I wore a suit that wasn't my own to the interview. And Linda's going through the standard questions. Gee, Brad, what about this? What about that? And She stops for a second, and Mark, who most of you in the back know real well, turns to me and says, "Brad, how do you think you'll do with your brother on the team?" Linda stopped. Her mouth hit the floor and said, "Your brother what?" Yeah, my little brother's on the team, Linda, and I don't think it's going to make a big deal, I promise. Yet she still took a chance, and I thank you very much. To the other inductees tonight, we've been clapping for Linda all night. She doesn't need any more of that. To the other inductees, Brandi, Lori, Rudy, congratulations. You guys deserve every bit of it. Even if Brandi doesn't think she deserves it, she certainly does. Now to him. Page 2, as Paul Harvey would say. Scott's here because he scores goals. He scores them very well. But what most of you don't know is Scot started out this little adventure called soccer as a goalkeeper. He actually came to Western his first year to try out as the goalkeeper. And as amazing as it sounds, since we're going to induct him into the Western Hall of Fame tonight, he got cut. The coach realized the ill of his ways and shortly thereafter asked him to come back to the team and play, but this time it was going to be at the other end of the park as a forward. And I think that was one of Kevin's best moves. That season, Scotty's team played Seattle U a couple times, and Kurt and I were on the other team. And in our second match in Seattle, I was just running that team ragged. And at halftime, Kevin said, "Scot, can you go stop your big brother?" Scot said, "Coach, I'll give it a try." He did a fantastic job. Turns out Scott's a little faster than me. I was a little bigger then. Didn't really matter. And I remember we went up for a header one part of the game, and I'd been notorious that season for crashing heads with everybody. I think I led the conference in stitches. But Scot and I clobbered heads. There's blood everywhere. I realized, yeah, I'm cut. I said, and he puts his hand up on his face, and he's got blood on his hand. So I said, "Scot, don't worry about it. That's mine." Little did we know it was his too. So we both took a pretty big gash, wrapped our heads up, and went back in the game. But so that's how it started, right there. When I arrived as coach of this team, it needed a boost. It needed what many of us would call a hero. Scot was our hero. He was never left alone. We didn't win games because Scot scored all the time. We won games because Scot let other people score, because everyone was worried about him. He was always dangerous around the goal. And after every goal, he had this great little goal celebration. And if I can digress, because everybody else has so far, it was something like this. Yeah, at my age, I pull muscles doing that, but he did it really well. And we saw that little dance a lot. But the best part about Scot was after every game, whether we won or we lost, we tied, he would say, "We should have killed that team. And I should have scored 5 goals. Well, dude, why didn't you?" And had you done that, Scotty, we would have won a national title. But nonetheless, as Paul mentioned with the statistics, he did score a lot. And that makes a coach look really good. So thanks for that, Scotty. But I tell you, the times weren't always that good. Just imagine your big brother, who's not much older than the rest of the guys on your team, coaching you and them and running the ship. He had to work hard. He got no thanks from me for it. The dressing room, awkward. Think about it. Here's your older brother screaming bloody murder at your teammates. That can't go well, especially when they're at somebody's house talking about how the game went and the coach is gone. I can only imagine the stuff he had to deal with. He's a player who's worthy of being a captain on any soccer team he plays on, but he couldn't be on this team because of me. Through all that, he was remarkable, absolutely remarkable as a player. But we did have some fun times, and I hope you enjoyed these stories because there were some pretty funny ones. we were playing, we'd gone to California for a trip. We played Hayward one day, and then we were playing San Francisco State. I always loved playing the Gators at San Francisco State. Whoever saw a Gator in purple? I couldn't figure that one out. But they had this really cool stadium and a deep hole, and we were playing, and I was on a yellow card. I had been rather vocal with the referee early in the match, and Scott was being himself, just being a pest, and he got thrown out of the game, and I was furious. And so I said, go up in the stands. And a moment later, I realized, had I stuck around, I would have been thrown out too. And so I turned the keys of the car over to Travis and Matt, and I walked up the hill and sat with Scott for the rest of the game, and we watched from the stands and cheered on our guys, and we won the game and got to have a nice ride home. But that was pretty fun, little things like that you remember. The best story is Keith Baker, who's back there in the back. You knew you weren't going to get out of this. He and Scott were roommates, and Keith is a spectacular player for Western, and he was our captain. And he and Scott have always been terrific buddies. And it was a Saturday morning. We were playing at the new turf field next to the King Rec Center now. And practice was really early on Saturdays, and I like to do that because I knew what the boys did the night before. I know they weren't supposed to drink, boss, but they're kids. And it was real chippy, and it got real chippy real fast. And we were playing a game where I had offense and defense coming off of the posts, and the goalkeeper would play the ball into the box, and it was just a battle royale. It was MMA without the fence. And Scott and Keith got paired against each other. I think we had even numbers, so they just kept pulling each other's numbers, and they were just bashing. And I could see it start to boil over. And then one wrong move, and they just started going at it. Just tear each other's heads off. And I said, okay, that's enough. You two guys, out of here. Kick them out of practice. That's what a good coach does. Kicks the trouble out of practice. Kicks us to the curb. And I watch him walk into the parking lot. I said, gosh, I sure hope they didn't carpool. I'll be darned if those guys hopped in Scott's truck and went down and had breakfast at Denny's. And I realized it was a ruse. I got played. It was outstanding. But with Scott, you also got Scott's buddies, and there were a couple of them in the back too. And Scott's buddies, we play at Carver, and Scott's buddies would bring a couch. And they were well oiled for these games. Glad somebody got that. And we're playing Simon Fraser, and it's always a battle. Western and Simon Fraser, it's always a good game. And it's 1-1 at the time. The ball goes out of bounds, and the couch is placed right on the sideline. And unfortunately for this poor Simon Fraser player, I think it was Garrett Cush, the boys in the room will know who that is. Ball goes out of bounds, it lands in the couch. I'm looking at this thing going, oh boy, because Cushy's a big dude. And the boys are getting well oiled. And one of the boys picks the ball, I think it was Schnabel, grabs the ball, he's about to give it back to the guy. He says, I'm telling you something. The score might be 1-1, but because of the exchange rate, you're losing. That was one of the best lines I have ever heard in my entire life. We went on to win that game 3-2. But Scotty scored some great goals for Seattle, oh boy, that was bad. For Western. Yeah, I wasn't gonna get out of this scot-free. Yeah, those are my kids chugging the San Pellegrino on the front table too. Scott scored the game winner in that Hawaii Pacific game Paul was talking about. Great goal. Just what our guys needed. He scored the game winner in a 3-2 victory at Seattle U after Matt Potter got a red card. And Matt Potter the next season was our assistant coach. We always had great games with Simon Fraser. We were talking today, I can't think of the number of times that he scored against those guys, but those were always the sweetest. But he was a great kid for me, and he was a pleasure to coach. And I am proud, not only as a coach, but as a big brother, to introduce to everyone here my best player at Western. One of the greatest who will ever wear the Western Navy, and a hero to Viking soccer, Scot Swanson.
Well, Brad, thank you for the nice introduction. Now that everybody thinks red card, fighting with Keith at practice. I promise it was not all like that. So he exaggerated the stories a little bit, but you know, you're always a tough act to follow. But thank you very much for those kind words. So, well, first I want to express my gratitude and appreciation to Western Washington University Athletics Department and you know everybody involved in my nomination here. It truly is an honor. I'm very humbled to be standing here, and you know, it's with Western's strong tradition, as you heard tonight from all these, you know, great inductees and the previous inductees. Western has a very strong tradition in athletics, and for me to stand alongside that in the Hall of Fame is just truly an honor. So it really means a lot to me. So I just wanted to say thank you. So I have a lot of thank yous tonight. So bear with me. So next, I want to congratulate Lori and Rudy, and Brandi. You know, I've got wonderful accomplishments. It's very nice to join with such wonderful people. So I want to take a brief moment and talk about there's two men's soccer players that are inducted in the Hall of Fame already, along with Dominic Garjul. I just got to say a quick word about him because I used to go to his soccer camp as a kid, so it's so wonderful.
Did you ever pay?
I helped you coach. So it's wonderful to see Dominic here. But Peter LaBarge and Tom Venable are two players. You know, I grew up in Bellingham, and I used to watch a lot of Western athletics growing up, and especially the soccer, because back then there was no MLS. There was no. I mean, these were the guys. This was the top tier, and it was just it was so much fun to watch them play. And I remember just being awed at how good these players were in the late 80s and up to 1990, you know, it was really when I was into soccer, but before I was, you know, looking at colleges myself, and you know, Peter could strike a ball so well. He's best you'll ever see, and Tom was just magic on the ball. He had vision that was just great, and you know, it was just, those two guys really set a standard of what you'd want, you know, soccer players to be in, and it's just wonderful to join in the elite group that they've set of, you know, being inducted to the Hall of Fame as a men's soccer player. I want to point out though, at the time it was similar maybe to our era when there was a guy with a drum that was beating, and they had fantastic fans in the late 80s when I'm a terrified middle schooler up there going, oh my gosh, they're yelling at the ref, and it was, you know, I said, wait, that's my kind of place. I got to go there. So it certainly, you know, had some influence over, you know, watching those teams where I decided to go to college. So, but next I'd like to, you know, thank my coaches. You know, as Brad said, I guess I should thank Kevin Quinn for the insight to bring me back as a field player, because I certainly wouldn't be standing here, you know, without it. So, but I also, you know, had a number of great, well, first off, coaches all the way back, Jack Swanson, my dad, Chet Lackey, another grade school type coaches. So you got to thank all the coaches. I thank Dominic. But I had a number of great assistant coaches while I was at Western. But I want to point out one in particular who's here tonight, Travis Cannell. Travis was a forward as well. So, you know, he was very experienced forward and just had great knowledge of the game, great creativity, and just he, similar to like me, just had a knack for the goal. So I distinctly remember Travis telling me, Scott, don't worry about defense, just score more goals than the other team. I'm thinking, man, he speaks my language. So you know, kind of reminds me of a quote from movie Space Jam of a guy you might know, Michael Jordan, when he said, you know, whoa, I don't play defense. So, you know, so I just want to say, you know, thanks, Travis. Moving on now to Brad. Brad was coach 3 of my 4 years, and The most common question I get is, what was it like to play for your brother? You know, everyone wants to know. So I'm here to answer it now. So there certainly were some difficulties. Not going to lie, there were some difficult times, but it was an amazing experience. You know, I wouldn't be standing up here today without Brad. He was an amazing coach. He has, as Paul mentioned, unrelentless energy, and you know, his uncanny ability to really speak to the team and speak to the players. And he was, you know, really brought the best out of all of us. So it was truly an honor to play, you know, for my brother. So, and when I was playing, I always thought, man, he's just harder on me than everybody else, you know, and he has to be because he's my brother. And I guess that's what I always thought. But then I realized, no, that's not true, actually. He was, you know, he was creating an environment, you know, pushing me and really challenging me to reach my potential because he saw my potential. And that was what Brad fostered in me was, you know, he really did push it. So I really thank Brad for the opportunity to play for him. It was a great experience. So I guess it wouldn't be a speech without talking about my teammates. I could go on for hours about, you know, the teammates, but two of them here tonight, Shane Brady, Keith Baker. Thanks, guys. It was an amazing relationship and bond that you create, and I'm sure many of others have with teammates, and we had some really great players and some talent, you know, very talented players and teams. And we had a lot of success. And the reason we did is because of those guys. And I scored goals, but there was somebody on the other side of that serving the ball to me. So, you know, I can't say enough good things and nice things about the wonderful teammates I had. So the second most common question is, well, what was it like to play against your twin brother? So, and we were a little bit on a different track. He had a medical red shirt his first year, so he played 1 year. But as was mentioned, he went to Seattle U, which was a big rivalry for us, and you know, it was really fun to play against him and Seattle U. And you know, I won't tell you the story about how they beat us at the regionals when they went on to win the national championship. Instead, I want to talk about our junior year when we had a really good start to the season, but we hadn't really played anybody yet. You know, it was, you kind of play, we were, I can't remember if we were undefeated, but we were really good start. You know, and as Seattle U had won, they beat University of Washington, and they were just on a total roll, and they were ranked 5th in the country at the time, and they came to Western to play, you know, us. And, well, we scored early, we bunkered in, and kind of, you know, they controlled a lot of the play, but we ended up winning the game, 1-0. And that was really kind of the turning point, basically, in my Western career. Our first years, we weren't all that good. That win, you know, propelled us at least in the top 20, I think 15th or 16th in the country is what we were ranked after that win. And that was kind of the confidence that our team, we had a great group of guys, we had some new recruits, and we really, you know, after that was where we kind of propelled into, you know, some of the great teams we had. You know, weeks later we went down to Seattle, and I think Brad mentioned that, you know, we beat them again 3-2 at their house. So it was really a great season, and you know, Kurt and I battled it out for the scoring title that year. So it was really a unique and fun experience to be able to play, you know, against your twin brother in the same conference and against it. So I guess I'll just wrap up with saying I've got a lot of friends here and family here, and you know, I've got my parents Jack and Leanne, my wife Kristen, my son Drew. We left the 1-year-old at home, so that was probably a smart move. So I just really appreciate, you know, everybody coming out tonight. It's very special for me to have so many friends and family here. I certainly appreciate all the support I've had, and you know, again, I just want to say, you know, thank you for this, you know, wonderful honor. It really means a lot. So thank you.
Our fourth inductee tonight is Rudy Thomas. Rudy averaged a double-double in points and rebounds before that term was ever used as a senior. averaging 15.4 points and 10.5 rebounds. He was the center on a men's basketball team that finished 26-4 in 1971-72. The Vikings winning the Evergreen Conference and NAIA District 1 titles and advancing to the quarterfinals at the NAIA National Tournament. That season, Western was ranked number 9 nationally in the AP poll and number 5 in the NAIA poll. Rudy received Little Northwest and NAIA District 1 All-Star Honorable Mention, averaging 21.3 points and 10.7 rebounds at nationals, both team leading figures. During that memorable 71-72 season, Western began with wins in its first 21 games. You know, we talk about this current season with the men's basketball and the fact that they won their first 24 and they had a 30-game winning streak overall. This was the team that had the record before, 41 years earlier. They took a dramatic best 2 out of 3 game series with Eastern Washington in the district playoffs. In 5 games that those two teams played, just 7 points separated them in those 5 games. 7 points, with 3 of the contests going into overtime. Amazing year. In 1970-71, Rudy helped the Vikings to a 20-6 record, averaging 13.2 points and 8.1 rebounds. You know, I want to digress a little bit. I want to introduce one more person, and he's also a teammate of Rudy's on that team, as well as Mike Franza and Coach Chuck Rand. Tom Mount. Tom was in the picture right here. Right there. Tom was the deep thinker on the team. So if you ever really want to know what was really happening behind the scenes, Tom is the guy to go to. You know, I was just talking to, before the ceremony, with Steve Swan, our vice president, and his wife Karen, and they're from Wisconsin. And Karen actually went to the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. And she remembers going to this tournament, this 1971-72 tournament, and being there. And it was a special place to be at that time. I mean, Eau Claire brought down 6,000 people. This was a 10,000 seat gym. I mean, had 3 decks, and they had 6,000 people, and they would party out in front. I'm sure Karen wasn't doing that. Out in front of the municipal, and then they would actually clean up their own party. They had it all squared away that they had people assigned to do that. And then they had 30 cheerleaders, and they had the most incredible cheers I've ever heard ever in my life and will never hear again. And they were there, and they actually got to the championship game. I believe they lost to Kentucky State. And, or did they win? Karen, do you remember? Okay. I know they played Kentucky State. And in talking to Steve ahead of time, the NAIA basketball at that time was actually above Division II NCAA. It was in between Division I and NCAA 2. I mean, 2 of these players that were on the team that we played went to the NBA, and there was a number of players that went from that tournament. And so this was a very interesting time, and also with the fact that at Western, you know, you had the Vietnam War, you had the war protests, you had the, taking over the president's office, going around the federal building, blocking the freeway. But at the same time, I mean, it was just a reflection of what was going on in our country and all the different things that were happening. And at that same time, our student body fell in love with this basketball team. It was really something special. Anyway, Rudy went on to play a short stint with the Harlem Globetrotters, and he competed professionally in Mexico. Rudy attained his bachelor's degree at the University of Washington, worked at Yesler Terrace in the Seattle Parks Department for 8 years, and then for 25 years as program coordinator for the Crossroads Community Center in Bellevue. He did a lot of wonderful things for hundreds of children. Rudy has a daughter, Marnie, son, Brian, son Chris, and has a wonderful wife, Marcia, and a granddaughter, Kelly. Rudy's presenters are daughter Marnie, and a good friend, basically almost like another daughter, Lori Tidwell. Come on up, young ladies.
So the two of us are so happy and pleased to be able to do the introduction of our fourth and final celebrated athlete of the night. Ice, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Kick us off,
There we
please.
go. Well, I'm especially just like on cloud 35. Cloud 50. Hey, that's his photo. So that's perfect. It's okay. Sorry for the hoarseness. I coach my own basketball program, and it's because of Rudy, and it is because of Coach deKubber as to why I am who I am. When I came to Lori in '91, I was just leaving Juanita, and she got everything possible out of me as an athlete and as a person. No one taught me the game of sports like she taught me. No one taught me how to do a proper drop step. Lori, stay on the floor. Stop jumping everywhere you go. She taught me everything I could possibly know, and to have both of them in this one setting right now is just a magical moment for myself, because they both came into my life at the exact same time when I needed them, at the most time in my life. When I came back, it's weird to hear you speak of Gonzaga, because I was recruited by Gonzaga with Lori's help. And here's the thing, Gonzaga was the worst time of my life. And that's when Rudy came into my life, is he saved me. And I am just honored, because in those 42 years, you've created a legacy of honor. You've created goodwill, sportsmanship, fairness, competitive play, and tough love with positive results. You've been a husband, a father figure, a mentor, a counselor, a coach, an ambassador, director, and leader that deserves the name of Hall of Fame man. Over 42 years, you've assured youth would matter, families would grow, and dreams would come true. Dad, your voice echoes through halls and gyms where you've told countless adults and children, you've got to believe you can do it. That long finger of his. You've got to believe you can do it. Pops, youth have come to you with hopes and dreams as tall as you. Speaking about that tallness thing, I have watched it every day, every hour, everywhere we go. How tall are you? Man, I see these little kids just do one of these. And he absolutely inside just despises that question of how tall are you? How tall? Big are your hands? And as a gracious person as he is, he would humble himself and say, oh, I'm about 7 foot. Give me a high five, little buddy. And that's just who my dad is. Over 42 years, you have changed so many lives, one being mine. For 24 years, you have loved me as your daughter, and I have loved you as my father. That will never be unchanged. You've done nothing but embed your spirit of kindness in the lives of every life you've touched. On to the next page, page 2. Harvey. You've shown this city what it is to be a man of integrity. You've left an imprint on this world, and you have left a footprint on this university. This man is a champion. He is my champion. And being given the opportunity to share this foundation with you is an honor. And on this day, as you being a Hall of Fame man, it is a dream I could have never, ever imagined. And Father, I just thank you for everything. Congratulations to you.
We get to share in calling Rudy Dad.
Yes.
We do. So Rudy's been a part of my life for the better part of 20 years. And I've always known him to be that man that's given back to community and athletics. And he's just made his life a dedication to young people. And he's always taken athletics to that next level. It's more than just the game or the skill or the win. It's about how you live your life. And most recently, I had the unique opportunity to see my dad again for the first time, and it was through the eyes of my daughter, his granddaughter. So Rudy recently retired from his career with the Parks and Rec, and a couple months ago there was a lovely retirement party, and it was a gathering of, fellow coaches and colleagues, students, athletes, family members, friends, parents, right? They all came together, and one by one they came up to a podium, and they gave testimonials, they told stories, they shared just how much this man has changed their lives. And at one moment, I put my hand on my daughter's shoulder. Now, Rudy's a humble man, okay? And in his role as grandfather, it's always about my daughter's athletics, her accomplishments, what's she doing at school, right? He rarely, if ever, he never brags or even shares. He wants to hear from the person he's interacting with. It's about them. And so here my daughter was hearing these stories, meeting these people that her grandfather had changed their lives. And I put my hand on her shoulder, and she turned and looked at me, smile on her face, tears streaming down her cheeks. And she mouthed to me, "Mom, I didn't know." I was like, "Your grandfather is a wonderful man. He is amazing." And seeing my dad again for the first time through her eyes was so amazing. That night, one of the many individuals that took the microphone, he said what I really kind of coined as the phrase of the night. It really was. And what he said was, "The world needs more Rudys." And it's true. The world really does need more Rudys. I am so proud and honored to introduce to all of you tonight a man that my mom calls husband, that my daughter calls grandpa, and a man that I call father. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rudy Thomas.
Well, Paul, I think I'm going to be the first with the crowd here today. But thank you guys. Thank you so much. I don't even know where to start though.
Let me say a couple things first, Rudy.
Okay.
Hey, I was Rudy's coach, and my buddy who knows me real well says I have a one-track mind, just basketball. And a friend of mine said, it's wrong, it's one rail. And I think that's true. And in my 50-some years of coaching, if there was one team that was the greatest of all my coaching time, it was certainly that basketball team that Rudy and Mike and all those guys were on. So they're an important part of my life. And I would say only one other thing. And Paul Madison showed me that picture earlier, and I knew Rudy could jump that well when he got him the ball and went off.
First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for sharing this moment with us, being inducted to the Hall of Fame. Something that means so much. Memories, celebration, special friends, coaches, and teammates. I'm still on? Okay. And teammates. Thank you, Coach Randall, who really brought me to Western. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Mike. And Rob, thank you. Appreciate it. And my highlight was 1972 when we won the Evergreen State Championship and finished 5th in the nation that year. It was an awesome year. And I would like to share with you, I got drafted by the Harlem Globetrotters in '72, which now I have retired. I enjoyed so much at so many different levels teaching, not coaching, but teaching the game of basketball at many different levels. It's been so good to me, and just to see the smile from kids' face, knowing when you make a shot doing it a great way, oh, they're just happy. That makes me happy, okay? I spent 25 rewarding years working for the City of Bellevue Parks Department. where I was a coordinator for youth sports and Crossroads Community Center, which was a lot of fun, made a lot of special friends. Still having friends that I still don't remember names and stuff, but it's been enjoyed. And I volunteer a lot of my time with the other youth organization, Central Area Youth Association, Forgotten Children Organization. If you don't know what that is, put smiles on kids' face every Christmas, where I was a Santa Claus for 5 years. 6'5" black Santa. But you know what? It was so enjoyed just to see smiles. See smiles on the girl's face and guys. It made me feel good too. So, yes. And I've been married for 25 plus years to Marsha, 2 sons, a wonderful daughter, a son-in-law, and a very, very special friend, my granddaughter Kelly, who I love so dearly. And thank you, Ice, for everything too. Okay? I want to thank each and every one of you again for being here sharing this special moment with each and every one of us. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love Western, always will. I still come back, watch him play once in a while, you know, and then sit down and have some fun with Coach. And come up and talk to Paul every once in a while. What's going on? You know? But I do stay in touch. I don't know how to thank you no more. It just speaks for itself. Thank you so much. Giving me this opportunity. Oh man, I'm in heaven, man. Beautiful women around here. Thank you guys. Go Western.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the 4 Western Athletic Hall of Fame inductees for 2013. Lori deKubber, Brandi Stevenson, Scot Swanson, and Rudy Thomas.
Get a picture, get a picture.
This day is always the most special day of my year, and I think you understand now why it is. Thank you all for attending.
They're just taking pictures, man. I hope they let me pick and choose.